Hey there, YouTube. Prof Sales coming at you with another Amazon book selling video. It's been probably about a month since I've been on, but I wanted to share with you my results from September 2018 because it's now almost the end of October, so I'm a little late with this video. So I do apologize for that. But I want to share with you my results that I got for the month of September selling books pretty much, well, I would say completely on Amazon FBA. So as many of you know, I started selling books on Amazon FBA earlier this year in May, really kind of for the first time. And so I'm just going to kind of share with you guys a little bit of that journey as well as the room fills up and so on. So this is a live chat, so leave me a question or comment if you want, or leave one after the video post. Always good. Good to be back with you guys. Been a while. It's a cold, chilly morning here in North Carolina. It's like fall wasn't, it was like summer and then it was fall. Just instantly overnight, it seems like. So some people in the room shouting out, Aaron's here. What's up, buddy? Flipping south. Hank in the room, the wrench. Illinois Picker, Seam Store. Kathy's here. Illinois Picker says, so many boxes to Amazon FBA, the UPS dude thinks I work there. I know, right? It becomes like an addiction. Like how many books, how many boxes can I send in tomorrow, to the next day, next week? But yeah, it's been a couple weeks since I've been on, at least, probably maybe in 3 or 4 weeks. Ron says it's 82 here in LA. Man, must be rough, Ron. Yeah, Mark, hello from Rhode Island. What's up, Mark? Jimmy, went from summer to winter. Yeah, I saw a sign that said the weather went from 90 to 55 like it saw a highway trooper. Like it was a speed limit sign. It was kind of funny. Mark sent in 340, I guess, items, books. I don't know, to FBA. That's cool. That's a nice shipment. So yeah, so I'm going to do an update on the books from September, kind of give you guys a little bit of a overview of what we've been doing this month and so on. So this month we have a prep and ship business we've been running as well. And we have thousands and thousands of units from prep and ship clients, and we needed to get those into the warehouses. So this month of October, we have spent the time doing that. We will do a warehouse update video at some point pretty soon, I think. But the warehouse has emptied out tremendously. There's still a decent number of units there, but we've probably shipped now 2/3 of everything that we had, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 13,000 units we sent in to Amazon. A lot of those have gone this month of October, not all, but quite a few. And we still have several thousand to go, but they're going to be simpler because a lot of them, they're down to like just a few SKUs that we have a lot of quantity of. So that's what we've been doing. And quite honestly, we've been doing that some weeks, 7 days a week. We have really just been burning the midnight oil, trying to get that done. And it's a huge task. When you get up every day and you say, hey, I'm going to try to ship at least 500 units today, and sometimes more than that, that sounds easy on paper, but when it's different SKUs and you've got different quantities and you're having to do like all this work to try to, you figure out what to price it at and so on. I mean, that's a lot of work, and we've really been crushing it this week or this month of October just in the warehouse. So that has taken most of our time. And we haven't really gotten a lot of time to do books or anything else. But that is starting to wind down. We're starting to reach a point where we can pivot back into books and other things. So that's what we're going to do going forward into November. So I just wanted to share that with you, what we've been doing this past month. Picker Illinois says, do you think it's bad when you go in a store and you disregard the reason you went to find clearance for FBA instead? Yeah, we've done that before. You go in, it's like, I really need to get some toothpaste. And you come out later with 12 retail arbitrage items and no toothpaste. So Yes, I know of what you speak. Definitely that has happened to us before too. When I go into a thrift store, I never really go in there looking for my own items. But if I go into a regular retail store like a Target or something like that, or Best Buy or wherever, any of your big box stores, I'm always looking for retail arbitrage items as well. And sometimes I don't even end up picking up what I came for. So I definitely know. Um, Mark says he noticed FBA gating some toys. Try getting approved and it was auto approved, but still to show up as not approved. Yeah, I've had some issue with a few toys as well, and like they went inactive, and I was able to sell them, but then once they got there, it said I wasn't. I used their tool to fix. They went stranded to fix them, and they still won't get fixed. So it's really a pain in the butt. Seems like that's happened to several people. Amazon has been super glitchy the last several days. I had a shipment last week that was just a nightmare to get done. It drove me to the limits. I tell you, it wasn't for us, but it was for our client. But man, that shipment was crazy how difficult it was to finally get it to go through. It was just like problem after problem after problem. And I still don't know exactly why we couldn't get it to go through, but eventually we did. We had to create a whole new shipment. Yeah, Amazon's been a little glitchy lately, and it's been no different with books. I've had some books that have gotten deactivated due to pricing issues. There's been a depricing or a deactivation pricing glitch the last few days that's hit some booksellers. It's hit me. When a book just all of a sudden you get a message from Amazon saying, hey, this book's listed too high of price. And it's not too high of a price. Like it's right in line with all the others. And it's just been a glitch, honestly. Let's see here. So I'm going to share with you guys kind of what our results were for October so we can jump into that. There are a lot of people in the room. So thanks for you guys coming out. I know it was impromptu, but that's kind of the way it goes sometimes. So let me show you my results from October. Or excuse me, September. So here was September. We did 31,000 scans in September, which was a record for us. We set out to send in like 900 books, and we did send in 900 because we had a few left over right at the end of August. But we pulled 838, which was quite a few. And that cost us about nearly $1,000 to buy those 838 books. So buying inventory for book selling can be expensive. I mean, even though it's a lot, not much per book, it adds up for sure. Our accept rate was 2.7%. So that's exactly our average right now overall. Our cost per book was $1.18, which I think was decent. So that's kind of our polls from last month. We had this goal to ship in at least 900 books, which we did. We pulled 838 over the course of several weeks, and I wish I can probably tell you how much time it took if I kind of look at my records. I've been tracking how long it's been taking us to source books in stores just to kind of see. I'm not going to do that forever because I don't really think it's that useful, but I just want to get a feel for how long it takes for somebody to go in and pull 10 books, 50 books, 100 books. Illinois Picker said, are you using, are based on the Amazon Seller app or ScoutIFY? I actually use ScoutIQ. There's a link to ScoutIQ in the description of this video if you guys want to check it out. I'm going to do a better video about ScoutIQ because I think it really is a great product. It's really enabled us to streamline the sourcing for books when we're out somewhere in a way that I'm not sure we could have done as quickly on our own. Well, I know we couldn't have done as quickly on our own. It would have taken so much longer to get that knowledge and to go in and have a better feel for what books will sell. And it's a tool. I mean, it's not the end of the process. It's the beginning. But it helps you go very quickly through a lot of books and get an idea about what might be good to sell and what's not. So I'm a big fan of ScoutIQ. Haven't tried. I mean, ScoutIFY is on the. It's probably fine as well. I haven't tried it for books. South of Martindale says tracking that activity is useful when you start out. Checking it once in a while. Yeah, I think so too. South of Martindale. I think a lot of resellers don't really track how much time it takes them to do things because I see some estimates of how long people think it takes, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. People will say, yeah, I listed 30 items and it took me 10 minutes. And I'm like, were they all just one item with a quantity of 30? Or that doesn't make sense. People say things, and then sometimes people take really long to list things. It doesn't make sense either. So they got some defects in their processes. But I'm a big fan of ScoutIQ, and like I said, you can check it out. There's a link in the description, an affiliate link. So if you sign up, I get a few bucks, which I appreciate. Doesn't cost you anymore. But I promote it because I use it. It's the only app we used. All those scans you see have been with ScoutIQ. We haven't. The only time I ever scan anything with the seller app is just to make sure that it's not restricted. Like if it's like, DC Comics sometimes are restricted a lot of times, things like that, or certain textbooks are. But other than that, I use ScoutIQ and just, it's like fire and forget. And then if it's good, it's good. And if it's not, I move on from it unless I've got some really special reason for looking further into it. All right, so let me show you guys some more on the spreadsheet from last month. You guys know I love spreadsheets. All right. So here's what we listed. We listed 968. So we easily achieved our goal of listing 900 books. That was our goal for next month. You see, this month we've listed 0 because we've just been so busy with everything else. But 968 was a huge number. I mean, that was almost as much as we listed in all 3 of these months combined. So really happy with that number. And it's really blown up our inventory. We'll look at sales. We'll go ahead and jump into those. No fulfilled by merchant. I'm not really doing any of those currently. But here we see what we sold in FBA. So here are the totals. We sold 265 books. So that is by far our best month. Some of those were textbooks, but not that many really. We did $3,700 in FBA sales with an average sale price of $1,396. That's something we've really going to work on going forward. I am not happy with that average sale price at all. And I think we can do a lot better than that. Excuse me. We netted a profit of about $4 per book. That's okay. I guess on $13, it's okay. And I'm taking out all the fees there and taking out all the selling costs. So I'm probably underestimating the amount per book there a little bit. It's probably a little bit higher than that, but I'm trying to be super ultra conservative. It's definitely a grind of a game. So that gives us $655 total sold and about $9,400. We're actually, I think, around 10,000 now, but we seem to be netting or averaging around $1,445 and netting around $484 per book. And a lot of that's because when you look at this average sale price, the fees and so on of Amazon just take up a big chunk of $1,445. And so by the time you do that and the cost of the book and so on, there's just not a lot left. So it's definitely a volume game if you're going to be down at these lower average ASPs. So I've talked to a couple booksellers and they're like, yeah, our ASP is 18 and one's 20. And I'm like, I've got to get my ASP up there higher. So I think we're gonna have to be pickier on the books we buy. We're just gonna have to, this is the catch-22 of it. There's lots of books out there that you can buy, for $1.25, whatever. And they'll sell for like $12. And they're high rank, so they sell, or they're good. They're a good rank, so they sell fast. They sell within a week or two, but you're only going to net like $1 or $2 on them. Maybe $2 the most. It's hard to turn those down, but it's also hard to send them in because it's like, how much labor do you put in to making that $2, and how much time? Like you've got to still pick up that book, pay for that book. Put that book in, put that book in your listing program. I use Accelerlist, which also has a link down below. And then you send that book in, you pay for shipping to send it in. And now like you're netting $2 and you're getting it quickly, but you've put time and energy into it. Like, is it really worth it? Like at what point, I've had people ask me this on Instagram, like at what point is a book worth it or not in terms of how many dollars you actually get out of it? And I mean, it's also not a function, I guess, of just how many dollars you get out of it, but how quickly you get those dollars back, right? I mean, if I told you, you're going to net $50 on this book, you'd be like, yes. But if I told you you had to wait 5 years to do it, that maybe doesn't make sense, So it's also how quickly you can get that money back out. So I don't really know. I don't really know what a good ASP is to shoot for. And there's ways you can tweak your triggers in ScoutIQ to set it so that you're only getting accepts for books with higher profitability, which usually is going to roughly translate to a higher average selling price as well. I mean, those things kind of go hand in hand. I guess that makes sense, right? But you're going to turn down, like, it seems like a lot of the really good selling books that are like 100,000 rank and low and better are just, they're not very high ASP. I mean, you're going to pass on all of those. And that means you're turning down, those $2, $2.50, $3 profit books in a lot of cases because you're waiting for the bigger profit books, right? So just keep that in mind if you're wanting to sell books. Like there's a trade-off there between, getting the lower price books versus getting higher price books that maybe take longer to sell, and you're not going to find as many of them either. So if you guys got any tips on that, like if you're watching this later or in the chat right now, what you do, do you have a cutoff? Do you have a sales rank cutoff? Do you have an ASP cutoff? Do you have a profitability cutoff? And if so, what they are? Jimmy says the ones saying their ASP is higher aren't keeping good records. Yeah, you could be right, Jimmy. I suspect there are sellers out there who don't really know, don't really track it. I mean, Amazon gives you really great sales reports. There's no reason not to know your numbers on Amazon. I think they're probably better about sales reporting and sales tracking than eBay, for instance. So as long as you look at those reports and compare it to your numbers, you're going to know how much you made per book. I mean, it's an easy calculation. There's tools out there to do it. You can create a spreadsheet really, really simply. There's ones you can buy. I just think that if you don't know your numbers on Amazon, you have no one to blame but yourself. Like Amazon gives you the information. There's no ambiguity about it. It's, you can get that nice, I like to pull down the sales summary report every month. It just takes a few seconds usually to compute, and you pull it down. It shows you your sales, shows you all the things that came in, shows you all your expenses, and it shows you Amazon's fees and then what they disperse to you. Real simple. And you have it right there. If your cost of inventory is low enough, the risk to send it in or wait decreases, and ultimately the cost to destroy if needed. That's true, Illinois Picker. And I think, the more I'm starting to learn about this book game, the more I'm beginning to realize you can probably get a lot of books for free. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think there are ways out there to get books for free. So that way you can, your cost of goods is zero. So now it's just your labor and your cost to get it into Amazon. You've taken the cost of the books out of the equation. You're at zero. And because a lot of people just don't want books, there's ways to pick up books for free. And we've got to get better at that. Like, it's just like, I'm looking at last month, like we spent nearly $1,000 on books, right? Think if we had gotten all those for free. Well, that's $1,000 still in our pocket. And we still did the same amount of work. I mean, we just gave ourselves $1,000 pay raise. So if you can find the inventory for free in the quantity you want, then you can make it work. But, I will say that the challenge with that is that to get those 1,000 books, we had to scan 31,000 books, which means we literally would have, actually we only pulled 838. So we literally would have had to process 31,000 books and then do something with them afterwards. That becomes a little more of a challenge. The nice thing about scanning them where they're at is if you don't want them, you leave them in the store and walk away. All right, back to the spreadsheet for a moment, and I'll share you kind of the rest of the numbers for the month. All right, so new inventory in was 968. so a total of $17.92 was the total inventory that I kind of blew up to, but this has since dropped down. It's more like around 1,400 now, given all the sales and so on. But still, I'm pretty happy about that. The fees, oh my God, the fees. Amazon hit me with $2,600 in fees last month. That is outrageous. Now, on the surface, that seems crazy, and it is kind of crazy. But think about it. I didn't incur those fees until I actually sold something. So it's not like that money really came out of my pocket. It came out of the sales, which is different. It came out of, potential profits, not actual profits. So that's a lot of fees. I kind of need to look at that a little closer because I feel like that's a little high for the amount I sent in and sold last month. I did ramp it up quite a bit, but still. These fees have stayed the same. We have 2 subscriptions to ScoutIQ. That's why it's so high. Normally it's less than that. One to Accelerlist and one to Reprice It for the repricer. So $2,700 in expenses for selling books last month. Not a cheap month, but again, keep it in mind, guys. These fees right here, you only paid because you sold something. So as long as you're selling profitable items, you're not losing money. Gross profit was around 761, and then a net of 650 after taking out the fees for ScoutIQ, Accelerlist, and all that good stuff. So that's where like the $4 and something per book comes. It's dividing that. So that's like the worst case scenario. Obviously these expenses and so on, you can argue these are business expenses. And so obviously the business expense, my cost of goods sold is an expense. So that'll reduce any tax liability. But I mean, it's growing, like that's like almost twice as much as it was the month before. So, it's not going to be as high this month, I don't think, but I think my sales are going to be lower. Well, I know they're going to be lower, but I think my profitability might be higher because I haven't been sending in books and incurring inbound shipping charges. I haven't been buying books either, so I'm not depleting capital out of my capital account. So I actually might have an even more profitable month without really doing any work or any extra work or not selling as many books. So yeah, fees are crazy. Picker's saying they're absolutely ridiculous. Well, yeah, I mean, you're paying fees, guys, but you're paying fees for somebody to warehouse your product, and to market your product, and to ship your product, and to do your customer service. That's what you're paying Amazon to do. You're paying them to warehouse it, ship it, market it, ship it, and do customer service on the back end and deal with it. That's what you pay Amazon FBA to do. What is that worth? Well, it's worth something more than zero, right? I mean, if you had to do all those things on your own, like I couldn't go sell hundreds of books a month on my own very easily. But that's what the fees go to, guys. I mean, honestly, that's, Amazon is just, they're in business to process items and sell items and market items. You're in business to feed items to them. So that's the symbiotic relationship you both have. I don't know. Let's see. Marshall said, put in a 50 book order last night. Estimated total profit 360 minus 24 shipping. Sales rank 200,000. Yeah, it took 3 hours to create the shipment. Who knows how many to scan through and get those? Yeah, I mean, it's a numbers game. If you can cut out, this is the way I look at books as in my 6-month wisdom here, right? I don't know how wise it is. I'm not sure it is quite 6 months yet, but you can eliminate cost of the books or get it very low. That's an efficiency, or that's a money back in your pocket, money you don't have to spend. You can find efficiencies with listing the books, like Accelerlist helps me list really, really quickly. ScoutIQ helps me find the books really fast and make profitable decisions without having to look them up. You can get better at your listing and sending in process as well. There's tricks to that. Like there's efficiencies you can get, and you can also, put your finger on the metrics of like, I'm just going to list books for more, or only buy books that sell for higher price, and I won't find as many. I won't sell as many, but I'll make more per book when I do it. And I won't have to do as much work either. And I won't have to spend as much capital to get them because it's less books. So, I mean, you can just kind of push those levers in your business and figure out what will help your bottom line the most and what makes the most sense. Because there's no right or wrong way. There's people who do bulk books and sell them like for $5-6. There's people who only sell textbooks. There's people who only do online arbitrage. There's people who process thrift books and just go through a ton of them or flip them back out to other people. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do books. It's just like any other reselling. You can just push those levers to help your business get more efficient and put more dollars in your pocket. So that's kind of where I've been focusing on, is like figuring out ways. Like my next trick is to get books for free. I want to see how many books I can get for free that are sellable. That's going to be one of the things we're going to do over November, is we're going to work on getting books for free. So we got some ways that we're going to be doing that, and hopefully that'll go well. And we'll see if it's really worth the time and energy to process all the duds. That's what sucks. You get a big slug of books, but only a few, just a few percentage of them are worth it to sell FBA wise. You could probably do, if you could get books for free, you could do quite a few books merchant fulfilled. And that's something we might eventually do. We might look into the seller fulfilled Prime as well. That might be Amazon's new wave of the future, and things with books, like to empty out the warehouses and make them more efficient maybe. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I have a suspicion that it will. So if you haven't jumped on the seller fulfilled Prime, you might want to check that out. I'm definitely going to check it out and see if I can figure out how to make it work for us. Because that gives you the advantage of the Prime customer, but you don't pay the extra fees to Amazon for them to pick the book and store the book for you, but you still get their marketing. You just have to have somewhere to put the book. Great thing about books is, guys, is like even like a decent sized bookcase can hold 300 books. You get 5 or 6 of those and you can hold a couple thousand books. And that doesn't fit in anything larger than like a spare bedroom or a garage. You definitely can store quite a bit of inventory with books in a pretty small space relatively compared to some other items. So so if you go the seller fulfilled Prime route, that might be something to check out. I'm definitely going to check that out. Let's see what else in the comments. Thanks for all the comments, guys. I appreciate it. Keep an eye on the fees. Amazon charged me twice for the same service time. Had to open a case and the case is still open. Yeah, I feel like my fees were too high last month. Maybe it's just because it was so many. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that report. And I think you mentioned, Mark, about doing a video on the report itself. Yeah, that would be cool. The Seller Central reports can be overwhelming. There are a lot of reports there, but you really only need, I think, to look at 1 or 2 of them on a regular basis, in my opinion. Kind of your sales summary throughout the month, sort of see how you're tracking and what you sold and what your categories were. I like to look at my average number of offers each month too, to see like how many offers I had open versus how many I sold in the month before. I think that's a cool way to see what kind of progress you're making. Let's see. Do you go back into your inventory and match price the lowest, or stick with your guns and try to sell higher? Yeah, that's a good question, Illinois Picker. So what I've been doing lately is I've been trying to leave the pricing alone for 30 days. So whatever I set it at when I initially listed the book, and I've been going in and I might start pricing my books after I go ahead and do the shipment, just to get the shipment done quick. And I'll just price them all at one price and then reprice them as they're on their way to the fulfillment center. I've been thinking about doing that. I don't know if I like that or not. It's kind of I kind of like price them in the moment with precision mode and Accelerlist. But I don't know. I'm toying with that idea. But I've been starting to try to leave them alone for a month. Because I think we get so impatient to sell things in the community. I mean, the right buyer's got to find you, I mean, that takes a little time sometimes. So, James says, once you get a high inventory level at 2,000, I think you should be selling about 80 to 120 a week. The rest depends on your average selling price. Yeah. That would be nice to be selling 100 books a week. Not quite there yet. Open a book swap library, use volunteers to work it. Yeah. I thought about that. They have the little libraries around here that do that. Like you just put in a book, take a book, but I feel like it's a little sleazy if I did that. Go take all the books out and put in my duds and scan the ones, or maybe just scan through them real quick and pull the one I want. I don't know if there is one. I don't know. It's really worth it. They don't really hold that many books. They're these little small wooden things. They stand on a stand. They're about this tall, and they hold, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 books. I don't know. It would really be worth it to go around to them. There's a few of them here in Charlotte, but I think it would be kind of a waste of time, honestly. But there's a name for it. Like it's a nationwide program, and I wouldn't really do anything wrong as long as I replace the book. I get kids books from time to time that could go in there. A lot of times it's kids books that are doing it, but the adults read them too. Yeah. So how are you guys book sales doing? Like if you're a bookseller, I definitely want to hear, how you're doing, because I feel like we're out here on our own sometimes. I mean, I have a couple people I talk to, but I'm always interested to hear how other people are doing, what they're doing. Not that I want to really copy them. I just want to see if I'm, doing something stupid or ridiculous, and when really I could, be a little more efficient with how I'm doing this. Have you ever compared the fees on Abe versus Amazon? Nope, I haven't. So Abe Books, I'm familiar with Abe Books, but I don't know what the fees are. My guess is, though, and I'm just guessing, that you would also want to compare sell-through on it too, Kathy, because Abe Books doesn't get anywhere near the traffic Amazon does, obviously. So granted, there might not be as much competition either. I mean, there's some things to weigh off there versus the selling cost. If you were doing merchant fulfilled and had the right software, you could sell on all these platforms at once. You could sell on eBay, you could sell on Amazon, you could sell on A-Books, make them all merchant fulfilled on all the platforms. And once it's sold, your software would take down the listing everywhere. But I mean, there probably is software that does that. I'm sure there is. I just don't have any experience with it. But I definitely, this is what I was kind of thinking about. Like even like a 200 square foot storage unit, a 10 by 20. I don't know what they cost in your area. I know some of you guys live in expensive areas, and it would probably be outrageous what the storage cost would be. But in this area, it's, you're looking at about 150, 200 bucks a month on the high side. It's not a crazy amount. 150 could probably be had in some place, maybe even a little cheaper. A 200 square foot storage unit could hold quite a few books and have room for your processing. That's the equivalent of 2 10 by 10 bedrooms. So you could store, if you want to do a merchant fulfilled business, you could store 1,000, 2,000 books in there and have room to process, I think, without too much trouble. And so you could run FBA and merchant fulfilled. So you could pull books. The tricky part for me is it's like when you're outsourcing and you scan a book and it doesn't meet the criteria for FBA, you have to have in mind some number that it shows if it would be good for merchant fulfilled. You can change the filter really quickly on ScoutIQ, which is nice, but I don't know if I want to do that for every single book. Like it would be time consuming to scan a book and then hit the filter to change it to merchant fulfilled and see if it's good, and then hit it back to do the FBA and then scan another book. Like that seems like a really slow process. I don't know if it really be worth it or not. But I think that having a storage unit, you could conceivably run a decent sized merchant fulfilled book business out of it and your Amazon FBA business. There's no reason you have to do one or the other. If you had a couple thousand merchant fulfilled books and you had a couple thousand FBA or books at Amazon FBA you have in the warehouses, you'd be doing a decent business, I think. I mean, you would be pulling in $5,000 a month in sales, maybe a little higher. So again, it depends on what you have and what books, and then you can make decisions. So when you go out and you find those, this would be cool. Like say you go out and you find that $12.50 book that's a 52,000 K rank, which is great. That's a great rank. It's going to sell really fast if you send an FBA, but if you send that in FBA, you're probably only going to make a couple bucks on it. is there a model there to say, well, even though it's a great rank, it's not making me a lot of money. I'd rather sell it, merchant fulfilled, seller fulfilled prime. Maybe you ship it media mail and it goes for $2.50 across the country, because most books are pretty cheap to ship unless they're really heavy. So now, instead of making $2.50 on that book, you make like $5, and you're still going to sell it quick because it's a great rank. I don't know if you could sell it for $12. You might have to sell a little cheaper in that example, but that just, that model, like, of being able to do both, like people like Greg Murphy, who have big, huge $500,000 a month book selling operations. That's what he does. He sells a lot of merchant fulfilled. He sells a lot of FBA. I mean, it depends. There's so many books out there. This is my struggle. There's so many books out there that are good FBA or good merchant fulfilled. But sometimes I put them down because they're not good FBA. And that bothers me on some level, because I'm like, man, I just had this book in my hand. It's profitable, but do I want to take the time and energy and the space to do a merchant fulfilled business? And maybe I do. Like doing a merchant fulfilled business, doing a merchant fulfilled batch in something like Accelerlist, no problem. You got 100 books sitting over there. You want to merchant fulfill all of them? No big deal. You create a batch that's merchant fulfilled, and now they're in your inventory. It submits all the info. It's just the same as FBA, except you're not going to put them in a box and send them anywhere and pay the shipping charge. So you just have to have a system to keep them organized, which there's lots of book systems out there. That's not really a big deal. So I think there's like a model to do both. You don't have to choose. Some people have gone totally the merchant fulfilled route and said, I don't want to deal with the fees of FBA. And they are high, especially on those lower ASP books. I mean, you can't, once you get down around about $9, even a really lightweight small book is still at $9. I mean, that's kind of like the break-even point. And even some of those are you'll lose money on, depending on how big the book is and so on. So, but that still might be a merchant fulfilled book you would do if you got the book for free. You're going to pay the VCF fees and whatever, but you're not going to pay that Amazon pick and pack fee of $4 or $5. So if you can ship it cheaply, like through media mail, I just think that I don't know if that model is. I don't know that model that well, but I think there's a way to do that too. So you don't have to be an FBA seller. I've kind of gone that route. I want to learn the FBA ropes. I want to know what I can and can't send to the warehouse and how it works and how quickly it'll turn and what I've got to dispose of and what I can keep. And then doing the merchant fulfilled part seems like it will be easier to learn. And definitely it's cheaper, but you got to have a space, and now you're doing the warehousing and shipping. So sorry, that was a long segment. Illinois Picker says seller fulfilled prime, you have to send priority, and by 1 p.m. that day or after 1 p.m. the next. So there you go. That's interesting. So I wonder what, I wonder how much, I wonder what the price, is there a price difference for seller fulfilled prime? Like, let's say you have a $15 book that would sell FBA $15 if you send it in the warehouse. Can you also sell it for $15 seller fulfilled prime? Do you have to price it significantly lower? Does anybody knows the answer to that question? That'd be cool to know. If you could price it the same, that's money in your pocket. I mean, you're putting that pick and pack fee right in your pocket of $4 to $5 on every single book. Oh, and he says also you can ship those merchant fulfilled books bound printed material. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that on Amazon. I know normally you have to get an account to get that. Good Bluetooth scanner. I recommend, I don't have it right down here in front of me, do I? I don't. I recommend the KDC200. That's the one I have. There's a link to it in the video. But you can go buy a used one. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to buy a new one. I mean, you can, but you're going to pay a little more for it. I mean, they're not cheap. I think the new ones are around $200 and some, but the used ones usually you can find them maybe around $150 or so. A Bluetooth scanner, I mean, Opticon makes a good one too, from what I hear. I don't have experience with it, but the KDC is really good. It pairs up with your phone nicely. It's fast. It's way faster than your phone. Way faster. I mean, it's not really a comparison. So if you're going to be outsourcing a lot of books and you're going to be scanning thousands of books a month, get a scanner for Pete's sake. I mean, don't skimp on that, guys. Like, you're going to think, well, I don't want to get a scanner and use my phone and save the money. Okay, that 150, 200 bucks, you are going to lose money if you don't get a Bluetooth scanner and you're going to go out and scan thousands and thousands of books a month. I promise you will lose money because you're not going to be able to get to them. You're going to go so much slower. It's going to be so annoying. A scanner, you're going to go through them so much faster. It's not even funny. So if you pair that with a program like ScoutIQ, I mean, you're really just going to be able to whiz through books. You can do 500, 600 books in an hour, even more, depending on how your process. You can't do that with just your phone. No way. There's no way. I've tried it. Everybody in the world has tried it. It's just not as fast. The scanner is actually faster because you can set up an audible beep with the software like ScoutIQ. You can set up the software so that it beeps. It does one beep when it's an accept, and it does a different tone when it's a reject. You don't even have to look at the screen if you don't want to. That's the beauty of it. You can just like and just keep going right through hundreds and hundreds of books an hour. I know people don't. I know, like, if you think there's any chance you're going to source books and you're going to scan lots of books per month, get a scanner. It doesn't have to be the KDC, but get a scanner. It's going to be so much faster. It's not even funny. It's just a tool in your business. I mean, come on. Like, if I told you that if you buy this $200 scanner, you're going to gross $5,000 more a year in sales. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And it probably is more than that versus if you don't get the scanner and you're not going to go through as many books. So, I know in the reseller community, sometimes we always want to skimp. There's like a scarcity mindset. Like, I don't want to spend money on this. And I'm like, come on, man. I mean, that's making you money. Like, you're losing money by not being able to scan books faster. I did it right off the bat. I was like, I am not going to have this phone. This is dumb. Because I tried it with a few and I'm like, this is slow. It's just slow. There's just no doubt about it. So best investment you'll ever make if you're going to be a bookseller is a Bluetooth scanner by far. I have checked out Jim Pickens' channel, and you're right. He does have great content, but I don't know if he's put anything out recently. He doesn't do a lot of videos these days, but he has some awesome content about selling in bulk and so on. So Picker, you're saying you do FBA Prime, and that's it. You don't do the seller fulfilled Prime just because you have to stay so attached to your inventory. That makes sense. Yeah, I definitely want to learn a little more about it if there's really an advantage to doing it or not, because I just have this sneaking suspicion Amazon's going to move that way with some of these categories. They're just going to push people to say, like, you're already seeing it with toys, right? You guys have seen that. You scan a toy and it comes up and it says, you must FBA this item. Like, you can't even sell it merchant fulfilled. I think we're going to see more of that from Amazon. They're going to start making some decisions on what has to come to a warehouse and what doesn't. And you know what? It's their sandbox. They can do what they want. What's up, Mr. Sadie? It has been a long time. I'm good, man. I'm right as rain. Let's see. Bound printed material on a 2-pound book will cost $284 as opposed to media mail $317. That adds up. You're right. That's like a 10% savings over the media mail price. That over time would add up for sure. Glad to see you're doing a video, Ed Miller. I know, right? It has been a while. They're going to push you to FBA because it's more money for them. Well, Amazon's probably running into the same issue that every company does when they grow like they did. Growth is great. You either got one or two problems when you're a company. You're either growing or you're regressing. Those are both problems in their own way. You'd rather be growing, but it comes with a set of challenges. And I just don't know that they're like the infrastructure and the amount of money they're putting into these fulfillment centers is massive. And there's going to come a point of saturation where they're kind of like, we really can't capture any more of the market. We have built out our infrastructure as much as we can. We have a massive amount of overhead between the maintenance of these buildings and the taxes and the labor costs. So I think that's that point. If they're wise, they'll see that point is coming down the road, and they'll already start pivoting towards, well, how can we make our third-party sellers still make money for us, but also make it more efficient so we don't have to spend so much money on the infrastructure. So I think that's why they'll push things like seller fulfilled prime and so on. I have a feeling. I mean, I would if I were them. Why not? Yes, you don't get the pick and pack fees, but that pick and pack fee, if it's costing them, I don't know what their average is, probably $4 or something per item, but it's costing them a good chunk of money to keep that item there, to pay for a robot, to pay for a person, to pay for the building. I mean, all those costs are, expensive. And Amazon's not immune to the cost any more than anybody else. They're a massive company, but they have massive expenses. So I just think any way that they can look to, if you can push more of your third-party sellers into seller fulfilled prime and save 5% a year on your operating cost, you'll do it. That's a lot of money. So we'll see what happens. I just think they will reach a point of saturation. Every company does this. Like they used to talk about in economics, I think they call it the Laffer curve or something like that, where a company grows to a point, but then it gets to a point, it gets so large that it really can't keep up the pace of growth to meet any incremental need that's out there. It doesn't really make sense. And then they start to decline. And you see it in companies so many companies have gone along that path. They get really, really large. And Amazon won't be immune to that either. We don't know when that point will come. And it'll probably have already hit, and we won't have known it for some period of time. And then we'll look back and say, oh, it really started 2 years ago. But I just think that, Amazon has to be cognizant of outgrowing their ability to keep up with it all. And I think one way you do that is you put more of the onus on sellers, third-party sellers, which make up a huge percentage of their sales, and let them deal with some of these back-end issues. I mean, Amazon is not an endless supply of money, guys. They don't have an endless supply of money and space and real estate to build fulfillment centers. Yes, they're building a lot, and they've built a lot. But at some point, they'll reach a saturation point. And it won't make sense for them to continue to do that, given the cost versus, let's say Amazon had captured 75% of the online retail market, let's just say in the United States, of the e-commerce market. But maybe capturing 80%, that extra 5% wouldn't make sense given the bang for the buck they'll get. So they're kind of at their peak capacity at that point. At that point, it's like, well, how do you grow as a company? How do you increase revenues and shrink costs? And the way you do that is you do things like seller fulfilled prime. I would guess. It just gives them, like seller fulfilled prime, it's probably good for the customers too, if you can get third-party sellers that can meet it. But I think it's good for Amazon. I mean, that's just, to me, like if the best model for them was to continue to have people to only send things into the warehouses, then that's what you would do. But seller fulfilled prime allows them to find that chunk of sellers that are willing to take on the obligations of the prime shipment, and it reduces Amazon's cost on the back end for having to provide more fulfillment centers and space, and operating costs to run those and pull the items. So I think it's just a natural evolution of things. It's funny, like eBay's talked about having eBay fulfilled by eBay, and Amazon's trying to push sellers into fulfilling. They're kind of going in different directions, but this is the nature of things. Yeah, I received the email too, Ed. I need to sign up for it. I think I don't remember how the email read. We should do like a whole show on it, but I need to get more educated on it, honestly. Yeah, JC says, when I buy on Amazon, I only search for Prime items. And yeah, and some people do that. They only search for Prime. It's a great, and Prime, doesn't really make Amazon any money. That membership fee per se, they don't really make anything on that. They're having to provide things like video streaming and all that as well as part of the Prime membership, and of course the free shipping, which kind of gets passed on. But they're not really making money on Prime memberships. But they're bringing people in the door. It's almost like a loss leader for them to say, well, let's put this program out there and people will sign up for it, and that will make them Amazon shoppers, and it has. So that's their marketing strategy. But that $120, whatever you pay per year, I mean, that's not really a lot of money. And I mean, they're getting $10 a month from you. I mean, that's not paying. I mean, $10 probably hardly covers the cost of one item. Maybe two at the most. So it just doesn't really make sense that that's going to bring in the money, but it brings in customers. Michael says, I'm 4 weeks in, only one sale so far, but I'm still doing because I believe it can work for me too. Are you talking about selling books, Michael? I guess that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, my sales didn't really, I think I only had 11 sales the first month. And that sent in a decent amount off the bat. I sent in like 150 books or 200, and then I sent in some more. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot of sales that first month. It definitely takes some time to get rolling. Like books is not a get rich quick deal. They don't flip super fast. You don't make a lot of money. You really benefit by volume, I think, with books, efficiencies, being able to scan a lot of books quickly, get a lot of books quickly, get them at a cheap cost, process them quickly, and get them sent in as quickly as possible. And then you start to build some momentum. But it takes months. Like I feel I'm not even 6 months in quite, so I'm still so new at this. So I'm taking it all with a grain of salt. I'm trying to learn everything I can and realize this is a long play. But what I'm learning with books will translate into other things that I can use. I can sell on the platform as well, which is part of the strategy. So I'm willing to put in the time and energy. And I think books alone can sustain a decent chunk of my needs, and then I can build other things out around it. Sadie says, I've been MFing for a while. There's a joke in there somewhere, Sadie. I'm just saying, you wrote it, not me. But I've been MFing for a while, and I'm more eBay and just easier for my model. Only sell a few things on Amazon. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the sell-through is on Merchant Fulfill compared to Prime. That's an interesting question. I'm sure that number is out there. But like if you had 1,000 books and you're sent them into FBA and these had the same 1,000 books selling on Merchant Fulfilled, what would sell-through rates be after 3 months, 6 months? I don't know. So I think that, but I think it's something you can build into your model if you have the space and time to do it. You can do some MF books as well. I guess it's technically FBM, fulfilled by merchant. But Sadie and I are having some fun with the term MF. Oh man, it's early. Are you still grinding hard on book buying, Prof? Yeah, I mean, JC, I don't know if you caught the beginning of the video, but last month we pulled 838. That was our biggest month so far. This month has been a lot lower because we've been spending almost all our time the first 3 weeks on our prep and ship customers. We've had zero time to source books. Yesterday was the first day we sourced books in a month. And we went out to 2 stores, two locations, and we pulled 51, I think, between the two, 52, which was good. Pretty happy with that. We hadn't been to those places in a while, so some of their stuff has turned, which was nice. But we were a little rusty at it, but I think we did pretty well. Really happy with the price we paid was pretty cheap, so we're happy with that as well. But I don't know. So we definitely are gonna. I think our goal for this month is to source like 430. I'm trying to do basically double whatever I sell this month. I think I'm only going to sell about 215 books maybe this month, somewhere in there. So I want to double that, replace what I sold because I've already got that cost of goods back out, right? That's already been paid back out to me, and then just spend 2x that. So that way, and I'll grow my inventory some more as well. That's kind of our goal for this month. We've only got 6 days to do that, so I don't know when we're going to get that done. But we're going to give it a shot. So we've already got about 48 or 50, 52 yesterday, and I think we got to make 10 or 11 already over there. So we got like 60. So we still need to buy like 300 and some books. That's not a crazy amount. That's doable, but we'll see how that's going to go. Are you getting them from library sales? Those can be very good. Yes, library sales are amazing. The libraries in my area just kind of run a perpetual sale year round. So you just have to go often. You know, occasionally one will do a one-off, but library sales, you're right, are amazing. They're great books. They're in great shape, and you get them really cheap. So absolutely, library sales are amazing. It's better than being MF'd by eBay. Sorry, I just saw that. It's pretty funny. Do I have any knowledge selling used items on Amazon FBA? Yeah. I mean, all the books I sell are pre-owned. So those are all used items. You can sell used items on Amazon. There's tons of used items on Amazon. Nothing wrong with that. And new used items sometimes are less complicated because you're never going to get as many inauthentic claims or, you know, asking for a copy of a receipt from those. I mean, you're just not. If they're new, you might, depending on the brand and what it is. Absolutely. Yeah. I bought my first new, I don't have it in here. Here's a big moment for me, guys, as a bookseller. I bought my first new set of books. It was like a Beatrix Potter, like 10 books sealed in the shrink wrap. I am 99.9% sure it is brand new. And I'm going to try to sell them new on Amazon. They sell for like $30. I think I paid $5 for them. So it's a good flip. But it's the first new book I've sent in. So I'm a little nervous about it. But I think it'll be okay. But it was we'll see how it goes. I don't think there's any doubt that it's brand new. It has never been opened. They had like a bunch of them, but that was the only one that was totally sealed up. They had several others that where the shrink wrap had just been peeled back a little bit in some places. And it's clear it had never been opened. But I was just nervous about it. Like, I just don't want to take the risk that somebody will say this is not new. So we'll see. I have not tried FBA scan. So I do not have any knowledge about it. I'm sorry. I've only used ScoutIQ. So far, it's been great. I haven't had any complaints. And I highly recommend it. Nothing against FBA scan. It might be great too, but ScoutIQ is pretty amazing. Yeah, this book picker, this set was like 400,000 rank. So, you know, I mean, I figure it should sell pretty quickly. It should sell within a month, I would think, at that rank. We'll see. And it looks like it's got a pretty good. Even if I have to sell it a little lower, I'd be fine. Like if I sold it $25, I'd be happy. I mean, it's still great profit. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to about do it for today. So I want to thank all you guys for stopping by. We went about an hour, I think. So that was pretty cool. Thanks for coming by. Be sure you check out the description below this video for helpful links, especially some of the stuff we talked about with book scouting, like scanners and ScoutIQ and Accelerlist. So check those out. And, you know, leave me a question or comment before you leave or after this video post if you're watching this later. And it's good to see you guys again. I enjoyed it. And I'll be back soon. I'm going to start trying to push out content on Thursdays, which today's Thursday. So that's going to be my kind of what I'm going to shoot for each week and just get some more videos out there and come back and engage with you guys. So always good seeing you, and hope you guys have a great day. And as I will tell Karen, you said hi. She's at work, actually, at another job. She wanted to play with other kids today. But this is Prof Sales saying good sales to you.